When a lonely rider opened the door of his cabin in the wild mountains and came face to face with an enormous black bear, he was certain his final hour had arrived. The animal, weighing more than 200 kilograms, could have taken his head off with a single swipe of its paw, but instead of attacking, something incredible happened. The mother bear placed her dying cub at his feet and, looking the man directly in the eyes, wept real tears. What this man did next left witnesses of this extraordinary incident completely shocked. The wild animal's behavior contradicted all scientific understanding of North American black bears. According to zoological research, female bears rarely approach human dwellings, especially when accompanied by cubs. Self-preservation instinct and protection of offspring usually keeps them at a significant distance from people. However, in extreme situations, maternal instinct can lead to anomalous behavior. Aidan Brody, a former journalist living as a hermit in the Adirondack Mountains, witnessed precisely such an unusual case. It was around 6 in the morning when he, not yet fully awake, stepped onto his porch to breathe in the fresh forest air. Instead of the usual solitude, he was met with a scene that forever changed his understanding of wild animals and their ability to communicate with humans. The bear cub that the mother had placed on the porch was in critical condition. Its body was cold, its breathing barely noticeable, and its hind leg showed a wound resembling a bite. Despite all his survival instincts and rangers' warnings about the unpredictability of bears, Aidan knelt before the motionless cub and discovered it was still breathing. Scientists from the Northeastern Wildlife Research Center note that black bears possess high intelligence and developed observational abilities. Studies show these animals can analyze human behavior from a distance, assessing potential danger or, in rare cases, the possibility of receiving help. Perhaps the mother bear had observed Aidan for an extended period before deciding on such a desperate step. The most surprising aspect of this story is that the mother bear showed no aggression and patiently waited outside while the human tried to help her cub. She positioned herself at the edge of the property and watched the house throughout the day, maintaining distance but not leaving the place where her cub was located. Acting more intuitively than consciously, Aidan wrapped the cub in his flannel shirt and created a warm nest of blankets and towels next to the heater. He sought help from local veterinarian Rachel Kowalski, who, although skeptical of his story, gave clear instructions for providing first aid to the wild animal. According to veterinary medicine data, hypothermia and dehydration pose serious threats to young bear cubs. In their natural habitat, about 30% of cubs don't survive their first year. The main causes of mortality are attacks by adult males who, as wildlife specialist Ginny later explained, sometimes kill other bears' cubs so the female will re-enter estrus. For several hours, Aidan sustained life in the small body, warming it, treating the wound with hydrogen peroxide, and administering a honey water solution drop by drop. By evening, the cub showed the first signs of improvement. It opened one eye and looked directly at its savior, with a gaze that Aidan described as conscious, without traces of wildness or fear. When veterinarian Rachel and wildlife specialist Ginny arrived, they confirmed the cub's wounds resulted from an attack by an adult male. They treated the affected areas, administered antibiotics, and restored the little one's water balance. By the time they left, the cub was breathing more evenly, and its paw had been professionally bandaged. Studies of black bear behavior conducted by Cornell University scientists show these animals possess exceptional memory and ability to recognize people. Cases have been documented where bears that received help from humans subsequently demonstrated less aggression toward them, and even signs that could be interpreted as gratitude. Over 2 weeks, the cub, whom Aidan named Baxter, recovered surprisingly quickly. His wounds healed, his appetite returned, and he began showing curiosity about the surrounding world, exploring the house with growing confidence. All this time, the mother bear continued to come every day, sometimes approaching the house but more often keeping her distance, always alert, always watching. A visit from Deputy Sheriff Louise Gentry presented Aiden with an inevitable choice. The Wildlife Service planned to take the cub and possibly relocate the mother bear. Understanding he couldn't keep the wild animal forever, Aiden made the difficult decision to return Baxter to his natural habitat himself. Biologists assert that returning human-raised bear cubs to the wild is a complex process requiring gradual adaptation. However, the presence of the biological mother significantly increases the chances of successful reintegration of the cub into its natural environment. This factor played a decisive role in Baxter's story. Aiden took the cub deep into the forest, where the mother bear's den was likely located. In a clearing surrounded by dense spruce trees, he opened the container and allowed Baxter to explore the territory independently. The mother bear emerged from the forest, cautious but non-aggressive. The cub, initially hesitating between the human and his mother, ultimately chose the call of nature. A touching moment came when Baxter said goodbye to the human. The cub returned to Aiden, nuzzling his muzzle against the man's knees before finally leaving with his mother. Even more surprising was the mother bear's behavior, who, before disappearing into the forest, looked directly at the man and slightly tilted her head, a gesture Aiden interpreted as a sign of gratitude. In the months that followed, Aiden's life returned to its familiar routine, but one autumn morning he discovered an unusual gift on his porch. A handful of ripe forest berries, neatly arranged in a small pile. Since then, every autumn small gifts of nature appeared on his porch: berries, pine cones, once even a beautiful stone. This amazing case of interaction between human and wild animal reminds us of the fine line between our worlds and that compassion knows no species barriers. The story of Aiden and the mother bear became living testimony that even in a world where boundaries between wild and domestic seem insurmountable, trust and mutual aid can arise in the most unexpected circumstances.